to, well, perhaps half of this centre.
It could be, perhaps I mean we could star it, but you'll see when we get to the bottom line that it's on the next page, but that would be an issue. Gemma?
I was just going to add to that, it's similar actually to what Susie was saying, is the figure where I've proposed that we do an earmarked fund from general reserves for the setup, because we know what it looks like, is based on utilities for this building, and the largest area of grass cutting that we currently have is Carbridge. So it's based on the grounds maintenance contract for Carbridge, but the land is twice the size, so that's something to consider. But as we don't know when we're having it, the building's been handed, the building and the land is now separate, so we don't know when the land's coming. It might be that there's not a charge in 24 to 25, so that's just where I've got to that earmarked figure from.
Okay. I mean, we can come back to that when we get to the...
and that's separate to SIL as well. That's completely separate to the SIL funding. Yeah. That's running costs.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So that's that. At the cemetery, again, we do get income from the cemetery, which is listed here. And Gemma's done quite a bit of tidying up on the budget heads and how they're accounted for, where they're accounted for. And then turning over to the next page, a bit more on the cemetery, and 500 Bracken Hill allotments.
We managed to negotiate a better digging contract
for the grave digging.
Is that questions there?
It's, do you want to speak, Gemma?
Is that from a recent meeting? That we were going to do that, do you know? It
Is that
doesn't
what
ring a bell.
sorry?
Susie asked if we were negotiating a better contract, but it doesn't ring a bell that it's an in action.
It's not been, no.
It's not come to the council yet to review.
No.
I mean, it's definitely one that we will look at as we get to reviewing different areas, but as far as I'm aware, it's not a live action.
Right.
It certainly is something we could look at through the year. But I think they do, well, I don't know how many burials we've had in here, but a lot, haven't we, this year?
Yeah, it's been very busy, especially this last few months.
No, sorry, that's me looking at the wrong figure actually. Because the provision for it was more, wasn't it? But it is less at the moment. So at the moment
Yes.
it's based on very similar figures than this year. Sorry.
I thought I'd missed them then, Susie.
Yeah. Okay. And then allotments at the end there. So the key figure is the important one, the one with in the box at the bottom. So as you'll see, income, forecast income, which includes the precept, 289684. The expenditure in this budget, forecast in this budget, 325224. So there's a variance of 35450. And so our job is to decide how to manage that really. And the options are to cut a lot of this expenditure, to put the precept up, to take some of the variance figure, or take the variance figure from reserves, which we are allowed to do. We are allowed to earmark reserves to account for that figure. We're not allowed to send in just a deficit budget, but we are allowed to earmark reserves to make up the shortfall, and or any combination of those things. I can just say about this, the way the budget is. For the last, we've not increased the precept for a number of years. I think we did it once.
We did a small increase last year, and
Yeah.
then before that, it has been a good while.
Yeah,
We certainly have only raised it once in the last 4 years, and that's since I've been elected.
Yeah.
And then it's before 2019, before it was less than 1% last year as well.
and in the meantime, of course, we've had, rising costs of living, inflation, and other issues, other cost issues that we're taking on. So we need to consider, and perhaps we ought to look at this other paper as well that Jen has supplied, which is the list of things that can be put, that are for the purposes of this budget being taken out of reserves. That's all with the yellow bands across. The other side of that one, I think. Yeah. So all these items listed here are maintenance type, big maintenance budgets. Some of them are new projects, and the proposal is that that this budget is based on is that money is taken from reserves to pay for these. There are two costs at the bottom which will depend on what we decide tonight, which are in the yellow band, which is how much money, if any, comes from reserves for this year's, the 24-25 budget, and the contingency. Do you just want to tell us about the contingency line, Gemma?
Yes, sure. So, as we know from this year's budget, it's running slightly over at the moment. So one of the best practices, after speaking to some other clerks, is that they build in a contingency. So they say, whatever the current budget is set at, we will earmark up to X amount that would go from general reserves. With general reserves, the advice that I've been given is it's best to earmark pots up front. So if you imagine lots of different pots for the different items, and if you don't spend them, great, when it comes back round to the next budget, you can re-review it and reassign it. But it's best practice to have them pots set out in advance, so that if that cost does come up, so for example, we know that this building needs a new roof, so you would identify popping a pot of money there, and that's no different to a contingency.
Yeah.
This general reserves earmarked money, is that in this budget or not?
Separate to that
Separate.
budget. Yeah.
And where do the reserves come from?
Like I said, the reserves have built up over a number of
Yeah.
years from over a lot of years from various things, but quite a bit of it from budgets coming in under what was forecast the previous years, so any underspend, year-end underspend for a number of years has gone into reserves, which is how come we're in this position where we've got this money and we can do this work now. And also, for me, it's indicative of the fact that we haven't got to this year end with an underspend. It's indicative, maybe, we won't get to this year end of 24-25 with an underspend. The reason why we're in the situation we are is because of it shows that inflation's been a major factor really in how our budget's gone. Gemma?
The other element as well, which I'm led to believe from Sue when she handed over, is because of COVID, it did put a delay on some of the items. So, like, for example, the roofs needed some repairs for a while. It's just not been done. So that there's outstanding bits of maintenance that should have been done in previous years, so the money's unspent, so it's in general reserves.
And how much do you have in reserves?
Sorry?
How much money is there in reserves?
That's that figure at the top of there. So that's what's estimated at year end, which is now 23-24.
Okay.
So that is completely separate to the budget. It's completely separate to the earmarked reserves that are currently in place for the SIL. And then there's just some guidance that I've popped in star bullet points below as to general information.
Yeah, no, the third point at the bottom of the page is important, that the general reserves must hold a minimum of 3 months running expenditure and no more than 12 months, and 3 months is in the region of 82k. And in my view, given what we experienced with the COVID lockdown, where we had no income at all, and we had that 3 months isn't enough really. I would like us to go for 6 months at the very least, and maybe 9, but that so views, proposals, ideas on how we manage this next.
Could I just ask what the management fee is?
Which one are you looking at, Susan?
Things above exclude current earmarked reserves, still in management.
Yes, so with Strata, it's something that needs to come back to the council to review. Let me just make sure I get this right, and Sarah, you might need to jump in to help with terminology. When people purchase their houses on a certain allocated area of the Strata estate, there was a management fee that was built in for the upkeep of the green space, the public open space. My knowledge is that it's a one-off payment that's built into that, and that's how part of that's what's accrued. I think it's about £45,000 of that 160 off the top of my head.
Right.
I thought it was annual.
I might be right.
Because
That's very
maintenance is
limited in that
ongoing.
knowledge.
Yeah. As far as I understand, yeah, the Strata estate is in kind of 2 sections in terms of maintenance, the maintenance of the open spaces. One section, the first section that was built, is managed by a company that, you know, we have nothing to do with. When they were building the second section, the Parish Council was given the option of taking on the maintenance of that part of the estate and receiving the fees. And so it hasn't been handed over to us yet, because Strata is still working on it, but people have been paying fees to the Parish Council, and at some point in the quite soon we have to decide how we're going to manage that, what we're going to do about it, but we don't as yet. We haven't as yet drawn up a contract or sought contractors to do that work, because it's not yet our responsibility, and I don't think there's any date yet for it being handed over.
Not the open space, no, it's we're looking at the building at the moment, and I've just checked, it is 45,000 exactly of that that's accrued in the bank account.
So sorry, which people pay us that money then?
The residents who live on certain parts of the yeah.
I think Strata were divided into, was it
I
3
think,
phases?
I think Green
3?
Lane's is Green Lane the boundary? No, Green Lane's something else. I think Green Lane might be a marker.
I know Seal Drive is definitely included, because
Yeah. I think it's mostly phase 3 of the Strata which was largely Seals Drive, and you've got that little green bit that's on, I'm going to forget its name now.
Yeah.
I'll be on the live round that.
It's my next
Yeah,
area to
there's a little
include.
green bit, and as it goes up to the communities, and I forgot the name of it.
So at the moment it's just a pot sitting in our accounts, waiting to be dealt with. Really.
Right.
Okay. So, to make some progress on this, I would like to propose that several stages. One, we accept this sheet of showing the items, projects, whatever, to be paid out of, to be funded out of general reserve. So that's the sheet that Jen's given us. That's the first part. Second part, I would like to propose, I do feel we have to increase the precept. I think we have no choice really. We can't carry on, we can't function without increasing the precept. You know, and prices change, like I've said a number of times. There's been increasing inflation over recent few years. And so I would like to propose that we increase the precept by 1.5%, and you've got a sheet, I guess, on the other side of this is the table showing the impact for Band D households of the different percentage increase. So a 1.5 increase in the precept asked of householders would be an additional £1.13 per year paid by Band D properties, taking it from currently £75 a year to £76.13 a year. And that would raise us, that would reduce the deficit from the variance on there from 35,540 to 32,290.
Yeah.
And then I also included in that is a proposal that the variance, any variance left, which will be the 32,290 for this year, is the earmark reserves to make up that shortfall. So that's a three-part proposal. Can I just ask some, put some touches at the beginning of the meeting? And we've got members of the public here, which is fine, and recording taking place. But these figures are not for public consumption until it's approved by the full Parish Council.
Yeah, so live working documents.
So this is draft.
Yeah.
This is draft. It's, so I think it would be desirable that it's kept within, within the people who are here for the moment, and that speculation, etc., does not appear on wherever speculation might appear about what we're going to do, because anything that's recommended here has to be approved by full council meeting. So that's my three-part recommendation, which I'll go through again. Increase of 1.5% of the precept. Approve this list of projects that will be funded out of reserves. And we also need to put in I'll come back to that in a minute, the contingency that we're going to agree. I'll come back to that in a sec. And third part, that the variance, the shortfall on this budget is that the funds are earmarked in reserves to make up the shortfall, which with a 1.5 increase would be £32,290.
May I ask a couple of things?
Of course.
With regard to the salaries, there is an office junior mentioned. What would their role be?
I think Gemma's wanting to get your attention.
Sorry, Gemma.
I can't answer if you want me to answer.
No, carry on, Gemma.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Do you want me to answer?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking for permission to answer.
Yes, please.
So it's been agreed in principle currently, so there's nothing set in stone. But depending on once we get workload to an easier rhythm, so we've cleared the backlog now and we're now working day to day. The office junior role potentially could look like a part-time hours, potentially school hours, something like that, for someone to support in the pack production, the adding invoices to the system, so we could potentially alleviate some of the outsourcing of the IFO role, of the data entry and the input side of things. So at the moment it's not a job spec role, it's agreed in principle to look at over the coming 12 months on a low level part-time basis. It also could maybe look at the form of an apprentice or something like that, but as best practice I've budgeted for that in case we do decide to go full forward with the full proposal of the office junior.
So it would be claiming back some costs of the RFO role, company?
Potentially, but not immediately, which is why, again, because I don't want to be in a position where I've overshot the budget next year. allocated for it in the two sections.
And sorry, could I ask how much is still outstanding on the loan? Do you know?
I only have the information in front of me, and that's what's to be paid that financial year. I can get that to you, I've just not got it in this meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
What line are you looking at for that?
The loan,
It was low down the first page, but
it is, it's on the first
Yeah.
page, just after halfway.
What number?
4600.
46. Ah, yes, I see. Right. Okay. 4600. Okay.
So what I've popped in is on the statement, so I have got that information, it's in the office, I just haven't got it right now.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've made a proposal. Is there any discussion on it? Anybody want to make another proposal? Actually, I'd also like to include in my proposal that the contingency is 6 months, which would be 164,000. So in the bottom line of the yellow block, it would be 164. Is that the right one? 8? Yes.
Sorry Chair, the contingency would just be an overspend on the budget. We'd leave 164 in the pot, so we wouldn't allocate 164 if that's the proposal.
I'll explain that again.
So of the 294,
Yes.
we would make sure that we leave at least 164 unallocated, unearmarked.
Right.
allow for
I
6
see.
months.
I see.
Yeah.
So what's to go in? I'm misunderstood. Is what's to go in the contingency
So
24-25 line
it's
there?
if we want to allow for any overspend on this budget, we
I
say.
see.
So we might want to allow
I
for
see.
5%, or we could allow for nothing, and
I see. So we could leave that blank.
we could, yes. We
Yes,
don't currently
right.
have one